Creme brulee is one of my favorite desserts because it's delicious, but also it has some really cool sounds. 1, 2. Here are the things we'll need to make our creme brulee. There's really only 5 ingredients needed. We've got eggs. We'll be using just the yolks from the eggs. You can use 6, you can use 7, depending on how rich you want the custard to be. But in my case, I'm gonna try it with 7 yolks, so we'll have to separate these eggs. We'll be using 3/4 a cup of sugar. And this is actually supposed to be divided in half, so I'm going to do that right now. Let's put a little more in this one. Try to make it even. That's close enough, I guess. We're also going to need 1 quart of heavy cream, a pinch of salt, and then finally you'll need some form of vanilla, be it from the vanilla bean or vanilla extract. The vanilla flavor from the vanilla pods are tastier in my opinion. However, the downside is vanilla beans are really expensive. This bottle contains 2 beans, and this bottle cost $15 US, including tax, from the grocery store. This vanilla extract, not quite as good as the beans, but it's much more economical. This bottle will probably last me for the rest of my life. So if you're trying to decide on whether to make your creme brulee with vanilla beans or vanilla extract, really it all comes down to who are you making this for? If you're making this for someone you're trying to impress, then by all means, be extra and go for the beans. That's all I get. 2 beans. This comes from an orchid. Vanilla pods. If you're making this creme brulee for your coworkers, like for a company function or something, don't waste your money on them. Just use the vanilla extract. This is one of those desserts that does require the special dishes. You need oven-safe ramekins, like these here. And we're making enough creme brulee for 8 portions. These are actually storage containers, but they're oven safe. I tested them. Plus they say oven safe on the bottom. So as you can see, I don't have a complete set of 8 matching ramekins. So that means that not everybody is going to get the same amount. But that's not my problem, is it? I'll just let the people sort it out amongst themselves. It builds character. I put tea towels on the bottom of these roasting dishes so that the ramekins won't slip around too much. And you'll see why that matters in just a bit. I've got to divide 8 among these two. Let's see. Let's do that right there. And I'll put this one and this one together. I'll do that so they don't bang into each other. Try that one. There we go. And then these two should fit. One in that corner and one here. To separate egg yolks, they have special spoons and little devices to do that, but we don't have to be precious. Let's get our mitts in there. Use our hands for this. It's actually easier. I'll show you. Just tip the yolk onto your hand, and you kind of separate your fingers a little bit and roll the yolk back and forth until the whites run out between your fingers. Make sure your hands are clean, obviously. That's one. Another one. We have 1 vanilla pod in our saucepan. And we're going to add our quart of cream. Add your quart of heavy cream to 1 vanilla pod and half of that 3/4 cup of sugar. And you want to heat up the cream until it just starts to bubble around the edges. You don't want to bring the cream to a boil because that will make the cream break. While the heavy cream is heating up, preheat your oven to 300 degrees. When the cream starts to bubble, take it off the heat. And let it slowly come to a rest. Add the other half of that sugar to the egg yolks. You don't want to do this step too far in advance because if the sugar is left with the egg yolks too long, it will burn the egg yolks and you end up with little clumps. So try to wait to the last minute before you add the sugar to the egg yolks. And mix that up really good. Add a pinch of salt to your egg yolks and sugar mixture. I don't really measure anything, so just hope that's right. Now we have to slowly add the cream mixture into our egg yolks, but we have to do this very carefully because if you add too much of the heavy cream to the egg yolk all at once, you'll end up scrambling your eggs. So what we have to do is temper the egg yolks, and you've got to keep whisking while you do that. Alright, let me clean up the mess I made and I'll be right back. We've strained out the vanilla pods and all of the little bean bits. So now we're going to fill our ramekins. Now we take that water that we heat it up and you add it to the roasting pans. And you want to add the hot water because custards cook best when they're coddled in a hot bath. And because we have these tea towels in the bottom of the dishes, the ramekins won't slide around. I like to add the water until it's about halfway up the sides of the ramekins. Alright, that's about enough water. Now put all of the custards into the oven at 300 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes until they are still jiggly in the middle. When you pull your custards out of the oven, you want them to be set, but you still want them to be jiggly in the middle. And then after you pull them out of the oven, you remove the custards from the hot water bath and you set them onto a rack or something to cool. And you want them to cool down to about room temperature. And then once your custards have cooled down to room temperature, put them in the refrigerator, preferably overnight. But if you can't put them in the refrigerator overnight, at least have them chilled for a minimum of 2 hours. Our creme brulee custards have been refrigerated overnight, so they're chilled all the way through, and you can tell by that they're set, the little jiggle is gone. And just before serving is when we caramelize the top of the brulees. That's when we put the brulee part on the creme brulee. Approximately a tablespoon per ramekin should be enough. I took my sugar directly from my sugar jar, so there's lumps in it. Ideally, you wouldn't want these lumps, but there they are. It is what it is. To help spread out the sugar evenly, you can hold up each little ramekin and kind of knock the sugar around to make it more of an even layer. One of the things I forgot to mention earlier that you'll need is a kitchen torch. This one is butane. It's what puts the brulee on the creme brulee. It makes the crust. Now you're probably going to have people tell you that you don't need the torch. All you have to do is take the creme brulee custards and place them under the broiler in your oven to make that crispy crust. To that, I say, you don't need that kind of negativity in your life. Go ahead and get you one of these kitchen torches. It's half the fun. The burnt crust on the creme brulee adds a very nice note of bitterness that balances out the sweetness of this dessert. So it's kind of a nice contrast there. And here we go. 1, 2. Good. I can't talk right now. Don't judge, you would do this too.